Hello and welcome to a new playthrough of Hearts of Iron 4. I'm going to play as Iran, just because I think they're like a fairly low-powered nation in Hearts of Iron 4, and I want to take over the whole of Africa as Iran. That's my plan. So we're going to be right in the mix here. It might go very poorly. We've got the British Raj to our right, so if we go fascist, we're going to have to fight them. The Soviet Union to our north, so if we don't go communist, we might get steamrolled by them. If we go to the west, we're going to bump into France and the UK. But we will have Italy and Germany helping us, hopefully, but they're quite a way off. We don't share a land border with anyone that's likely to go fascist, apart from maybe Turkey. So it is going to be quite tricky. I think what we're going to have to focus on, because we've got a very mountainous kind of terrain here in the middle, so fighting into Iran is going to be difficult for anybody that tries it. This could be a nightmare of a border for the Russians to cross, unless they go through Afghanistan, which they probably would. But we could fortify in such a way that we could hold off the commies. We could fortify in such a way that we can hold off the Brits or the British Raj. Obviously, there is a potential for a sea invasion, but if we do get invaded by the sea, they'd have to come. Or if we could get this kind of this bottleneck here around the Suez Canal, then we could maybe stop them just waltzing through, but they'd have to go all the way around Africa, which hopefully they wouldn't want to do necessarily. But there is potential here for us to do well, and if we can get into the Middle East and take over all this, we'll have. I guess you get oil. I mean, I'm pretty sure there isn't a huge amount of oil in the Middle East yet. Yeah, as you can see, there's quite a lot in Iraq. There's quite a lot. So we've got a lot of oil, so we can do a lot of trading. But if you think about Saudi Arabia at that time, 3 oil? Come on now. I mean, this is oil country. You know what I mean? This is like, I guess it had yet to be really realized. But the only resource we have is oil. We actually don't have anything else. No steel, nothing. It's pretty incredible, actually. Turkey's got a lot of chromium, but and they've only got a tiny bit of steel. So we've got to think pretty closely about who we invade here, because I guess Afghanistan's got tungsten. But I hadn't really considered just how shitty our resource situation would be. So our play is going to be fairly cheap troops, forts. We'll fortify our borders, and we're going to push west. Go west, young Iran, and conquer the Middle East. That's our play. So first order of business, of course, will be Iraq, then Saudi Arabia, Yemen, and Oman, and try and boot everybody out of here. I want this all. I want it all. Okay, all right, let's do it. Research. Oof, 2 researchers. All right, we need to catch up. So let's get busy. We need to catch up a lot. So we're going to focus early on. We're not at risk of impending war. That's one thing in our favor, is we're not at risk of just getting jumped. In fact, it's fairly unlikely that anyone's going to declare war on us. So what we need to do is just build. And so for that reason, I'm going to focus this, which lets you go down the research route and get better at researching and stuff like that. And industry, of course. So let's start constructing. Free civilian factories. How many factories do we have? We got 4. Got 4. That's great. That's just great. So let's build some more civilian factories. We got a fair amount of room. We'll build one in Tehran and one in Gilan. And then we're just sitting. We have nobody in basic training, which is fine. And our effort is going to be political effort, so that we can kickstart this. We currently have the Shah, Reza Shah Pahlavi, is in charge. So we're non-aligned and we have no elections. We just don't give a hoot. But I guess if we had the points, we're not fascist or communist. So now the decision is, which way do we go? Do we want to be communist Iran, or do we want to be fascist Iran? I'm thinking, since we've got enemies to the north and the south, I mean, that province alone would solve all our problems when it comes to supplies. And maybe if the Russians are too busy with the Germans, we could sneak in and nick some terrain off them. The British Raj, I mean, this is a hideous mountain range to fight into, so I think we could just hold them off while we push west and hoover up all the oil. And between us and the Germans, we could take oil away from the Allies. That'd be pretty big. We're just going to chill. We're not going to build anything. We're just going to chill and try and tech up and build stuff. So this is going to take some time. Might be a good few years before anything important happens. We're waiting on political power. Once we can complete our political effort, which will be soon, now we need to think. Oh, the Spanish Civil War is on, yeah. I don't think we have any units. Do we have any? Haven't got a single military unit? Is that really the case? Ah, the Rhineland has been remilitarized. All right, we've completed political power. All right, do we have any troops at all? Some guys on horses. We've got the Imperial Gendarmerie in Tehran, and these lads guarding the mountains. Why don't you lads go and guard the port? We are obviously, Iraq is our natural enemy, so we're going to invade them first. That's our first port of call. So we've done political effort. We could go for a liberty ethos or a collectivist ethos and then go nationalist. But at the moment, let's just plug away with some research stuff. We can modify our government. So we can add a political advisor. Captain of industry increases the construction speed of pretty much everything. But silent workhorse gives you more political power. And when you get this kind of guy, Muhammad Jam, what happens is you can then keep going. Like you get more political power and more political power. Or we could go for fascism on the rise and try and go fascist. But I don't want to do it early because then we'll be a target and then we'll get dudes on our border. And that's definitely not something that we want. Are we making anything? So we make 3 a week because we have no steel. I mean, I would trade, but there's absolutely there's nothing to trade. We have so few factories. So this will give us a free civilian factory, which will be good. We could maybe use that for trade. We don't have, I mean, hopefully we'll have complete disarmament. Volunteer only, all right, perfect. What is our population? 12 million. So we've got a lot of people, which is good because we're going to need them. Okay, modify government again. So that's why you take that guy, because you get more political power. So we get 1 a day. Captain of industry speeds up the building of everything. That's good. Resource gain efficiency. That sounds good to me. I'm 100% sure what resource gain efficiency means, but I'm assuming it means that whereas we currently get 42 oil here, let's keep an eye on that when our resource gain efficiency goes up. So it's 42 in Kyrgyzstan. So let's keep an eye on that. National focus. Let's get for another construction effort. We just got to plow down this. We want to go for concentrated industry because we're a relatively small country in terms of the number of things, what do you call them, provinces that we've got to put factories in. So we want to max these as much as we can. Italy took Ethiopia. Nice. I mean, one thing that we do by going fascist is we give a nice little way to take out Turkey, and then that gives the fascists another way to get into Russia, although it's not a particularly pleasant one with all the mountains. Okay, let's get mechanical computing going, modify government, political advisor. All right. We want to get on board the fascist train fairly early, but look at this. We're not in a place to build any of that kind of stuff right now, for goodness sake. I think we take fascist demagogue Ahmed Matin Daftari. Fascism on the rise. The younger generation will take up the torch. No national focus. All right, so armament effort will add a military factory. Infrastructure will give us some more infrastructure, and then we can get our extra research slot and start ticking along. We're in the early build-up stage. It might be like a good 3 or 4 years before we go to war with anybody, but we'll see. All right, let's train up some infantry. Just 5 divisions. I think that we could spare that. Could do with some steel. Maybe we could trade for some steel. Let's trade with the Germans. We need 8 for 1. That's good. Give us that steel. And especially when the Nazis won. Excellent. Pretty dusty. My wife hates dust in movies. So, for instance, the film The Hurt Locker, which I very much enjoyed. I thought it was an excellent movie. She's never watched it. Too dusty. Any movie set in a desert or in a dusty region, she's not about it. She just hates it. All right, so what do we want to kind of tech up on? We want to tech up on industrial stuff. So industrial research time minus 10%. That sounds pretty good. Or we could go for military theorist. That would give us army experience every day, lower our land doctrine research time. We'll go for Mohammad Reza Pahlavi next. But for right now, we want to build our industry because frankly, we're a sleeping giant down here. So the reason that we build civilian factories early, for anyone wondering, why are you building civilian factories early, Pyrion, is because the more civilian factories you have, the quicker you can then build military factories later down the line. I mean, we're in a position to crush. A lot of these countries will not be going that way. You know what I mean? Like, we should sweep into Iraq and Saudi Arabia pretty handily. And we want this war to be separate from anything that we do with the Axis. So I want to take these out, annex these countries, and get them into the fold so that we can take it over completely, add their population and shit like that. Indian National Congress triumphs. In the recent local elections, the Indian National Congress has achieved an overwhelming majority. Slogan would transition to local government and dominion status in the future. It appears the Indians have rejected the more radical policies of Gandhi, who'd argue for a total break with Britain. Cowards. All right, so now there's our third research slot. And we can crack on with our factory output. National focus. When do you get that? You have more than 50 factories. Okay, so we can get another construction effort, and then we'll start going armament effort. Yeah, racking it up. Right, modify the government. You remember what we were going to go for? We were going to go for military theorist. Get that army experience gain. Yeah, boy. Let's get some support equipment going. It's always handy to have. And we're going to go for one thing, logistics is a nightmare in the desert because it's very hard to move supplies around. If we go into Iraq, we're not going to have access to a port and stuff. So I'm definitely going to want to research logistics companies as well as engineers, obviously, so that we can get into Iraq and not lose tons of men to the horrors of desert warfare. The other thing that we would really love is light tanks. Light tanks will be really, really good. They're great in the desert. Amelia Earhart disappeared. So light tanks are really good for the open desert. As you can see, if you look at Africa, it's flat, man. It's super flat. Tanks is good. The only problem with tanks is, of course, they need a lot of fuel. But they're good for, like, you don't go piling them off for miles and miles, but you quick encirclements, then crush, and then take another port and whatnot. So, I mean, all of this is going to have Iran stamped over it. It's going to be like, Iran, like that. So, recruit and deploy. We're producing mans. This is good. Production. Yeah, not too shabby. And we're up to 14 factories. Nice la. So, I thought that resource efficiency thing would mean that this would go up from 42 to something else. It's kind of interesting. So, what does resource efficiency gain actually mean? Not construction, but is excavation. Efficiency means you gain more resources from what you extract, which also scales with synthetic refineries. Let's say you extract 10 steel. With level 1 excavation, you would extract 11 of steel. How's our fascism coming along? Nicely. Nicely brewing. Hot fascism. Get your hot, fresh fascism right here. Uh-oh. While the attempts of the fascist movement to revitalize the people's pride in the nation have seen some success, the resistance against these ideas remains high. The generals plotting to overthrow the current administration are disappointed in the lack of confidence the Iranian population themselves seem to have in Iranian superiority. They remain certain that the people will eventually tire of Reza Shah Pahlavi's lies, but are divided on what course of action to take. Some call for a coup to be executed now before Iran's enemies take advantage of his weakness. However, doing so while public support is limited will plunge the nation into civil war. They must unite the people first, then rule them. We got to get them on our side. There's no point bossing people around. They hate it. Small arms research time. I think if we get the infantry equipment designer, that'll cut some time off developing new guns and shit. We will be the vanguard. Oh yeah, that's how you get them on your side. You scare the shit out of them. So we made a bit of a boo-boo, because with my research, I'm currently researching motorized. But if we take the national focus to research motorized, that'll cut a lot of time off. So let's switch to something else. Otherwise, we're just wasting time. Can we switch to anything here? Yeah, let's switch to that. We'll come back. Fascist coup d'etat! And we are now the new Persian Empire. We've got a new flag and everything. Look at that flag. That flag is awesome. Arya Ansari. We're trading with the Nazis, so they'll be our friends. I'm going to start buffing up our infantry, ready for the beautiful conquest of Iraq. Holy shit, we got quite a few planes here knocking about. Handy. Good to know. So if we take motorization, that's a 75% research bonus for motorized. We want to complete that before we start researching motorized. Let's research tanks, because I want to try and get light tanks eventually. We'll get the steel from somewhere. We got oil for days. The Germans love oil, man. We do also want to start changing our government type. So we'll be doing that. That's our next protocol. Modifying the government, changing the laws. No more consumer economy. We shed off the needs of consumerism and capitalism in the name of nationalism. Social nationalism. National socialists. We could call ourselves that. The Nazis. it's not very catchy. See, we got motorization nice and quick. So this will help with infantry, weapons, and support artillery. Sweet. So now we research motorized, and how long does it take? 23 days. Bong! We just saved ourselves like 100 days, gang.